Just like to offer a big shout out to Touchdown Digital, the sponsor of this week's video. Well, hello everyone, Glenn Samuel here. Today I want to talk to you about making photographs, or do you take them? The great Ansel Adams once said that you don't take a photograph, you make a photograph. And I believe in that 100%. Now, how do you become unique? How do you make your images unique to you? Now, with social media and the internet, we are saturated with millions and millions of images every day. And usually these images are taken in iconic locations. Now, I know for a fact that you want to photograph these iconic locations, but I find that a lot of people that do that end up with the same photograph as the next person, or the same image as the next person, because there's no thought to it. They just see this great location and they think, well, I'll go and take a photo like that, and they end up with the same image, and it becomes, well, quite frankly, it's becoming quite boring, to be quite honest. There's no individuality with people's images these days, and it's a shame, really. So the topic for today's video is you don't take a photograph, you make a photograph. Now, I'm going to show you a few images of well-known locations that people, thousands and thousands of people, have photographed. And we'll start with this one. This is Lake Moraine in Canada, and if you Google Lake Moraine, you will notice that it's in the top 5 destinations, or photographic destinations, in the world. But all the images look the same because people are there at the same time, they're on the same location, same spot, same rock that they're standing on. Now, I was there about 8 months ago, and we stayed there for a couple of nights. And I thought, well, the only way to get this shot to be completely different is to get there before everyone else and to shoot this location at 4 a.m. in the morning, hence that shot. Then you have a look at this shot of the same location. This was taken at 5:30 a.m. Freezing cold, mind you, it was minus 15 degrees. It was very cold. There was no one else around. Now, I got the perfect reflection. Most people, when they take photographs of this location, Moraine Lake, they don't get that reflection because they're either there too late, or they haven't thought about it, or they're just using a phone, which is fine. But I believe you need to make your images unique to you and unique to the viewer, because people are now starting to become very desanitized to people's photographs. In actual fact, photography means very little to a lot of people these days because everyone seems to be taking photos with their phone or whatever they have at the time. So I suppose the gist of this video is to try and convince you to think outside the square. Try and put a unique balance to your photographs. Do your pre-planning, your scouting. And sure, go and photograph those locations that are very popular on social media. But do them in a different way. Give the person that's looking at your image something to really think about. I mean, everyone can just go and take a photo. That's just, you just pull up with your car, get out, take a photo, you drive off. That's not photography. Photography is all about taking that image, building it. In actual fact, when I say you don't take a photograph, you make a photograph, it's not necessarily while you're on location. You make the photograph before you even leave your house or home. You do all your planning, all your research, and then you construct the image on site. Then you make the photograph. So making the photograph starts well before you even have the camera on a tripod. So start thinking this way. Start making your photographs unique to you and give the viewer something unique to look at. Look at this image here, which I recently took not long ago in the Richmond lowlands of Western Sydney, northwestern Sydney. Another location which is absolutely photographed to within inches of its life by photographers. But every time I look at those images from that area, they all look the same because people are seeing this on social media. Right, I'm going to go there, I'm going to take that photograph. They end up with the same image and it becomes drab, boring. So if you have a look at this image here, I took this at 5 a.m. I was the only one there, the only one. I exposed for the highlights, which was the orange sunrise, and let the foreground fall into shadow or keep it in the dark. And that way I get a unique image. I haven't seen another image like this. I'm not saying that because I took the photograph, it's just that I know people haven't done this. And that's another thing you need to think about. Find out, to be good at anything in life, you have to find out what people don't want to do or what they're not doing well. And then you capitalize on that. If you want to be unique and good at anything you do, try that. Do things that people don't want to do and take on what they don't do well. And it's the same with photography. Take this shot, taken the same morning, only an hour later. I watched the sun rise and I knew to my left there was trees and trees to the right. So I positioned the camera on the tripod to photograph the rays of light coming from the rising sun through the trees. Once again, I let the foreground go into shadow and highlight and focused on and exposed for the highlights, resulting in that image. Once again, I've never seen a photograph like that in that area, and this area has been photographed over the years many, many, many times. So I suppose what I'm trying to convey here, or the message I'm trying to get out, is be unique. You don't take a photograph, you make it. Make it yours and own the experience. You have to own it. And when you're standing in front of something that's been photographed thousands and thousands and thousands of times, don't let that cloud your judgment or your way of thinking. Give it everything you've got, everything that you know, and capture that image the way you want to capture it. Are you a copier or are you a creator? That's another question you have to ask yourself. Now, this is pretty serious stuff, you know. If you're interested in photography, especially landscape photography, I suggest you really listen to what I'm trying to put out here, the message I'm trying to convey to you all out there. It's great to look at other people's images, especially in areas like the Richmond Lowlands. I hadn't been there for over 20 years. I'd done my research for about a week. I went out and scouted the area every day. Those two shots you've just seen, I actually went out 2 mornings in a row and I just stood there. Had no camera equipment with me. I just stood there and I watched what the light was doing. And I realised, well, okay, if we get a good sunrise here, that will happen, and that'll happen through the trees. So scouting is part of making the photograph. Okay, so remember, scouting is also part of making the photograph. And as I said earlier, you make a photograph well before you actually arrive at your location. So by looking at these 3 images, you can see that if you Google Moraine Lake or Lake Moraine in Canada, and you Google Richmond Lowlands and have a look at the photographs, you don't see many like this because I've gone out and scouted the area. I've looked at what the weather was doing. I looked at what the light was doing. But more importantly, I looked at other people's photographs of those 2 locations. And I thought, there's got to be another way of doing this. There's got to be another way of telling the story with the image, create the emotion, and take something unique to you, but also very unique to the viewer. Because I can tell you now, you will get comments from people like, they'll say, God, that's a great photograph. I've never seen it. I've never seen that area photographed like this before. That means the image has worked. That means your pre-planning, your scouting, and your making of the image before you even get on site has worked. So this is what photography is all about. This is very, very little to do with the equipment you're using. This is all about the forethought about what you're trying to create. As I said, are you a copycat or are you a creator? So this is just a short video. I thought I'd put that out there. I hope you learned something by this. Enjoy the images. I'll put a couple more images at the end of this video that I took out at the Richmond Lowlands. You probably haven't seen these ones, and I will endeavour to be doing a video out there, because one of these shots I actually was standing on top of a ladder. I was using a ladder, a step ladder, to take one of those shots. So I will be doing a video on that in the very near future. So that's it. I hope you learned by that. If you like what you see here on this channel, please hit that subscribe button and the bell next door so you don't miss anything. If you have subscribed, I much appreciate it, and thank you for your support here at Sniper Photography. And as I always say, be nice to yourself, family and friends, but most of all, you keep shooting, keep smiling. Bye for now.